5 years ago this month, Dodd-Frank was signed into law. Undoubtedly, it is the most sweeping, dramatic rewrite of banking and capital markets laws since the New Deal. Weighing in at 2,300 pages, 400 new rules. It is clearly dramatic. Whether fan or detractor, this committee would be negligent if we weren't vigilant in our oversight in both the impact and the implementation of Dodd-Frank. Negligent we will not be. So today marks the first of 3 hearings to be held on the Dodd-Frank bill, posing 3 different questions. 5 years after Dodd-Frank, are we more prosperous? 5 years after Dodd-Frank, are we more free? And the focus of today's hearing, 5 years after Dodd-Frank, are we more stable? I frankly believe it remains an open question whether we have achieved greater stability. I fear the answer is no. But were the answer to be yes, when you look at the damage Dodd-Frank has done to our economic growth, to family finances, and consumer freedom, I am rather doubtful it would be worth the cost. Clearly, balance sheets have improved post-Dodd-Frank, and banks have delevered. This is a necessary and good thing, and I strongly suspect that market forces would have brought about these actions regardless of Dodd-Frank. Regulators already possess the powers to have set more prudent and capital and leverage standards. Still, Dodd-Frank very well may have been helpful in this regard. But what is undebatable is the fact that since the passage of Dodd-Frank, the big banks are now bigger. The small banks are now fewer. In other words, even more banking assets are now concentrated in the so-called too-big-to-fail firms. Pray tell, how does this improve financial stability? Dodd-Frank has codified too big to fail into law and provided a taxpayer-funded bailout system in Titles I and Titles II of the Act. This simply leads to even greater moral hazard and to greater instability. According to the Richmond Federal Reserve, the explicit federal guarantees of financial sector liabilities have increased to a whopping 60% post-Dodd-Frank. When private investors and depositors and counterparties expect a bailout, their incentives to monitor risk clearly wane. Regulatory micromanagement is no substitute for market discipline. By this measure, Dodd-Frank has clearly made our financial system riskier. Part of the expansion of the federal backstop has been the creation of a whole new class of too-big-to-fail institutions, namely centralized clearinghouses for derivatives. Here, Dodd-Frank didn't lessen risk, it just centralized it and placed it on the taxpayer balance sheet. Next, Dodd-Frank's Volcker Rule, along with the Basel Accords, has caused a massive drop in corporate bond inventories. Many economists now believe the next financial crisis could very well result from the illiquidity and volatility in our bond market. Senator Dodd of Dodd-Frank said, quote, "No one will know until this is actually in place how it works." 5 years later, we have a clue, and we are learning that our financial system may very well be less stable under Dodd-Frank. Now I'll yield 5 minutes to the ranking member for an opening statement.